I'm Carina Traits. Welcome to the itty weeny, teeny weeny Yummo kitchen, where today I will be proving to you that you do not need a big kitchen to make delicious food, as you knew already. I'm making white sauce, which is a really basic fundamental sauce that's really great to know. If you know how to make white sauce, you can hustle a meal probably out of anything that you have in your cupboard. So, we have our oven plate on. I've got it on 6. I don't like to mess around, be too slow about things, but it won't go higher than that. So we're going to start off by adding 2 tablespoons of butter to this pot. And it's better to start with a bigger pot than a smaller one. So this is a bit too big. I don't really have an in-between size. So I don't have any pot handles, as you can see. They aren't necessary. So there's my 2 tablespoons of butter. Got to let those melt. And then, when these tablespoons of butter are melted, I'm going to remove the pot from the heat to add the flour. So the thing is, if you add things, you have to remember with white sauce, basically, most of the action happens off the heat and the whisking happens on the heat. So just, when in doubt, remove it from the heat to do the next step, is what I'm basically saying. So, letting the butter melt. The butter's melted, so now I'm going to remove it from the heat and add 2 tablespoons of flour. So basically it's simple because it's the same amount of flour, and you can double this recipe or halve this recipe quite easily, just good to know. So add the flour, and while it's still off the heat, whisk it around. Into this paste. Make sure there aren't any lumps. Because lump-free white sauce is what it's all about, really. Maybe don't hold the pot against your body unless you're a professional. Don't do that at home. I wouldn't want to be responsible for burning anyone. Okay, so now you can see this is what it looks like. Nice and smooth. It's a smooth paste. And now we're putting it back on the heat. And this combination of flour and butter is called a roux, R-O-U-X. And it's basically the basis of the sauce. And what we're doing now is cooking the roux. And the more you cook it, the tastier the sauce will be. But you have to be careful of burning it, because you can burn it and then obviously it goes crumbly. If you overcook it, it'll go crumbly, and that's when you know you've gone too far. So this should take 1 or 2 minutes. So there you go. As you can see, this is cooked quite nicely. It's been cooking for a minute. It's got bubbles, but it's not crumbly yet, which is what we don't want. So we're going to move it onto this plate. And now, off the heat is where we're going to add the milk. And you want to add the milk really gradually. It's 2 cups of milk. And then you just add a bit more milk. And you just have to whisk it in between. You have to whisk it in between every little bit of milk. Okay. And the second cup of milk that you add, you don't have to add so carefully, because obviously it's much thinner now. Nice and smooth. And now we put it back on the heat. We add a bay leaf. This is a dried bay leaf. You can get fresh ones too if you know someone with a bay tree. And I've got a little piece of an onion, an off-cut of onion, which adds a lot of flavour. And you can leave the skin on provided it's clean enough. And that's amazing how much flavour that onion and bay leaf give to the white sauce. So now we've got the heat on about 4 or 5. And we're just going to whisk it until it comes up to the boil. So as you can see, it's just starting to boil now. You don't want the temperature to be too high, because it can end up burning. You just have to keep on whisking it. You can also use a wooden spoon. Traditionally, you're supposed to use a wooden spoon, although whisks are a much easier way to keep things lump-free. And then the reason why you have to boil it for 5 minutes is because you have to cook out the flour taste. If you take it off the heat before, even though it can end up getting thick, you can end up with a really floury white sauce, which is not nice. Sticks to the roof of your palate. So, 5 more minutes of this. Okay, so this has been boiling for 5 minutes, and now I'm going to show you how to test that it is thick enough. Also remember that when bechamel cools down, it gets much thicker. So you don't want, if it's really thick in the pot and you let it cool down, it's going to be a lump. You don't want that. So the way to know that you have the perfect thickness is if you dip a wooden spoon into the pot, pull it out, and then you draw your finger across, and then it leaves the perfect line. And you have to just lick that, because what else can you do? It's on your finger, and then that's, you can see that it's cooked.